Pokemon facts are always a good time, but obscure Pokemon facts are even better, and I have dug up a few that you may have not heard about before, so let's get into it. An early beta design of the PokeNav from Gen 3 was actually published in early advertisements for Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. In Korokoro, for instance, artwork of Brendan was displayed which featured the PokeNav on his hip, like it normally does, except that the PokeNav had a completely different design. It's essentially unrecognizable from the final product, other than it's in the exact same place as the final PokeNav in this artwork of Brendan, and it also just looks a lot more plain and less distinctive. Personally, I think it looks a bit like the Pokemon Minis, which were actually launched and in production right around the time of Ruby and Sapphire's development and release, so it's possible that it was originally used as a point of inspiration for the PokeNav. You may be aware that for as classic and beloved as the original Pokemon Red and Blue are, they do still have a lot of hiccups and mistakes in them. Something of this kind of variety that's pretty wild, but will mostly go unnoticed due to it only being present within the background of the games, is that Gyarados knows the moves Hydro Pump and Dragon Rage by default, meaning that it essentially learns these moves at level 1, if level 1 was actually a thing in Red and Blue. Most of the time, this doesn't come into play because you can't catch Gyarados in the wild in Red and Blue, but Blue's Gyarados does come packing with both of these moves when you battle him at Pokemon Tower, when your team is most likely still in their 20s. Thankfully, this doesn't actually get exploited that much in the games themselves, however, and it was changed by the time Yellow version came around. Jumping ahead a few generations, there is an amazing Easter egg to be had with Gladion from Gen 7. Gladion's theme is actually just a remix of a theme from the original Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, which is called Runaway Fugitives. This is a pretty cool tidbit all on its own, but the coolest part about it is that the connection to Mystery Dungeon is made here because Gladion himself is a runaway fugitive after he stole Type Null and ran away from the Aether Foundation and then joined Team Skull, which honestly is just like a chef's kiss of an Easter egg as far as I'm concerned. And another chef's kiss just so happens to be today's sponsor, Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co. I personally get these boxes every month, and what they do is bring authentic Japanese snacks and treats directly from Japan right to your door. Tokyo Treat supplies the modern treats, while Sakura Co. is a monthly Japanese artisan snack box that provides the more traditional and cultural Japanese experience. And these month's boxes are special because they're themed around Tsukimi, the annual Japanese Moon Festival. Tokyo Treat's theme is Moonfest Snacktacular and has lots of moon-themed goodies, and even matcha-flavored Kit Kats, while Sakura Co.'s theme is Autumn Moon Festival and has lots of great snacks and even this amazing Moon Festival-themed dish, which honestly looks amazing. If you'd like to try some of these yourself, you can do so by following the links in the description, and when you use code HOOPS at checkout, you'll also get $5 off of your first box. And it directly supports the channel at the same time, so it's a pretty sweet deal and is very much appreciated. Again, you can check that out with the link below, and thanks so much to Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co. for sponsoring this video. Speaking of spin-off games, a potentially very obscure reference is made in Pokepark 2 Wonders Beyond for the Wii. In this game, in the arcane area, there is a moment where a Basculin can come up and attach onto a Slowpoke's tail. While seeming pretty unassuming, this is possibly a reference to a Who's That Pokemon segment from the anime, and more specifically, a Japanese one, in which Slowpoke was the subject and also featured a fish attached to its tail, which looks almost identical to Basculin. This also comes from the 17th episode of the anime, so one of the very first ones, which also obviously was years before Basculin would be introduced in Generation 5. Even the smallest details in Pokemon games can contain cool secrets about them, which makes them all the more interesting since most people aren't going to think twice about them and therefore will miss them entirely. One such example is present in Pokemon X and Y. In Lumio City, you can take the Lumicab to fast travel to different parts of the city, with the base fare for the taxi being 710 Pokédollars. This, believe it or not, is actually a reference to the taxis of Tokyo, where the base fare for a taxi is also the same price. Something you may have noticed or heard about is how, especially in the earlier days of Pokemon, some Pokemon would occasionally have their designs updated following the release of their respective games. And one of the craziest stories surrounding this sort of thing has to do with Mr. Mime. In Generation 3, with the release of Fire Red and Leaf Green, and when the Pokemon art style was updated into the modern style that we use today, Mr. Mime gained a 5th finger on each of its hands, as it previously only had 4 fingers. According to Pokebeach on Twitter, who reportedly spoke with an official from the Pokemon Company on the subject, Mr. Mime gained a 5th finger because a 4-fingered hand is often associated with the Yakuza in Japan, who are known for chopping off fingers. This reportedly received some complaints, with people apparently thinking that this gave Mr. Mime a connection to the Yakuza. So he was updated to have 5 fingers instead in order to avoid any more controversy or potential gang affiliation. I guess you just can't ever be too sure when it comes to Mr. Mime. Another thing that is practically the definition of obscure is that in Pokemon Red and Blue, you can actually evolve certain Pokemon with other Pokemon. Due to a glitch, it's possible to evolve any Pokemon that requires an evolution stone with the help of another Pokemon instead. Due to the evolution stones and these Pokemon sharing the same internal index numbers, all you have to do is level up the Pokemon you want to evolve in battle and then finish that battle with the Pokemon that is replacing the stone, which will then trigger the evolution. Growlithe can take the place of Thunderstones, Onix can be used as a Water Stone, Psyduck can be used as a Leaf Stone, and Exeggutor can be utilized as a Moonstone. But in order to get a replacement for the Firestone, you are sadly going to need a Missing-No, which is obviously a little bit trickier. In Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, there is a poster behind the counter at all of the different Pokemarts, and even though it just seems like it's for decoration, the poster can actually be interacted with. If the player could actually reach the poster, it would read, "It's an advertising poster about all kinds of products." Believe it or not, you can also find a special form of a shiny Pokemon in Fire Red and Leaf Green as well, that can only be found in these games. For some reason, Shiny Paris has yellow mushrooms in these games instead of its regular red ones. In my opinion, this is actually better because it's more of an actual change compared to regular Paris, but again, these are the only games in which Shiny Paris appears this way. And now, looking ahead a bit to Generation 8, a seriously cool design detail from this generation involves Chairman Rose. While it's admittedly not a perfect match, Chairman Rose's beard actually resembles the metal type icon from the TCG, with metal being equivalent to steel in the main games, which Chairman Rose specializes in. That is all I have got for you today though, so thank you all so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below letting me know your thoughts, and subscribe for more. I'll see you all soon with another new video, and until then, as always, I will smell you guys later.